You're watching the Y2K show, where they play my kind of videos.
Quiet on the set. Quiet on the set. Oh my God!
You're watching the Y2K show, where they play my kind of videos.
Soy Roberto, El Favorito Gringo, Mi Pelos Blanco, Hecho en San Mateo, Dime cuando ven a Mexico, soy una California oso, más grande de mi sueño, es un nuevo año, nuevo tiempo, no ratos or latas, no preguntas, preguntas menso, inteligente pero soy poco loco, fiestas.
You're watching the Y2K show, where they play my kind of videos.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everyone doing today? I want to welcome both of you ladies to the Y2K show. Y'all should introduce yourselves to each other. You're both Filipino women, and I appreciate both of you supporting the Y2K show. Before I get started, I'm going to play a little music, give some other people a chance to see what's going on and come on through, okay?
She's a very freaky girl, the kind you don't take home to mother. Heard she's got a friend that's one just like the other. Found out they're rather
On a
nasty.
face like an angel and body for days. I light up the light like a sunshine rays. Hot like a fire, burning so bright. I wanna be a freaking nasty girl tonight. Get lost in my eyes, now you're hypnotized. Take so long that you can't deny. I got the other girlies wondering why you can't be a freaking nasty girl tonight.
Living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you wanna come with me? I need me a nasty girl. Tonight, living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you wanna come with me? I need me a nasty girl.
I get drunk on my love when we wrap it up. Sips when the fun, yeah, I get the job done. Like a tidal wave, I'll rock you right. I wanna be your freaking nasty girl tonight. Lost in my eyes, now you're hypnotized. Take so long that you can't deny. I got the other girlies wondering why you can't be a freaking nasty girl tonight.
Living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you wanna come with me? I need me a nasty girl. Tonight, living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you wanna come with me? I need me a nasty girl.
The freakier the girl, the freakier the damn world gets. Popping the bottle, whipping the throttle, till the girl sits right on my crotch, tricking the scotch up on the Lambo. Giving the girl everything she wants so much that she can handle. You think that she's freaky? Let me roll up the sticky, then place my head in your lap. Put my tongue in my pinky. The key is the sex is about to go down, so put your pussy in here and put your face in the ground. Yeah, Jackie, you a nasty girl, climbing up your legs like I'm on top of the world. Freaky nasty, yeah, I'm the man. Johnny West and Nate Dogg breaking clubs with a jam. So now you looking at me like you wanna get out. I'll leave your face in the sheets whenever I'm in town. This is my world, baby, just follow along, cause I'm the type of motherfucker that goes all night long.
Girl, the kind you don't take home to mother. Heard she's got a friend that's one just like the other. Found out they're rather nasty. They say birds of a feather. Boy, I love it when we meet. Club peanuts on the corner. Tonight, living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you wanna come with me? I need me a nasty girl. Tonight, living in a fantasy, my own little nasty world. Tonight, don't you wanna come with me? I need me a nasty girl.
Yeah, Nate. Finally got it done, bro. Wish you could have been here. 2021.
That was my God. Now let's get over here to one of our sponsors for tonight's show, Michael Welch. Y'all put your hands together for I Want You Naked from Michael Welch.
I want you naked. Show me what you got. I want you naked. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. Yeah, you looking just good for last time, I remember. Sit down, get a drink. There's something I want to say. I want you naked, can't you see what your sexy body does to me? You fill my head with fantasies of ecstasy. Me holding you, you holding me. You loving me, girl. I want you naked next to me. You've got a body that's so heavenly. Combusting in the club with perfect skin and perfect eyes, perfect lips and perfect thighs. And the ass so fine and mesmerized with everybody else there. You've already decided your trust in me is confided. So go tell your homegirl you're leaving here time for playing games. The name and number that you gave are the real thing. So let's go and satisfy our curiosity. And I want you naked, you want it too. Got my nature rising just for you. So come on, baby, let's stop wasting time. It's wasting time. You show me yours, I'll show you mine. A little bump and grind to the 69. I want you naked, and I ain't wrong. Light the candle while you lose that thong. Come over here and let me take it off. You break me off in the way I'm gonna shake it off. You know I came to get you off, girl. Yeah. Oh, yeah. After getting up on the room, after me going down on you, some dinner conversation, and we're right back in the mood. A bubble that's sipping Tennessee, me touching you, girl, you caressing me, revealing secrets of love's designers, whisper and scream. No, I don't play with this stuff, girl, I'll be freaky enough. I'll be the biggest freak you'll ever do. No, you don't need no lingerie, no sex and negligee. I'm gonna do all the things that you want me to. I want you naked, can't you see? What you sexy about it doesn't be. Come over here and let me do the things you want me to. The kind of things you never knew. The things your man I won't do for you. I want you naked, naked. Got a body that's amazing. Come bustin' in the club. Perfect skin, perfect eyes, perfect lips, perfect thighs. And so fine and mesmerizing me. I want.
Once everything's perfectly organized,
Yeah,
I'll
once
start working on my.
perfectly organized, I'll start working on presenting the show to everybody. But for right now, let's just keep it rocking and rolling. The big copper wheel. Here's another song here from our sponsor, Michael Bluff. This is a very famous song that he and I did 5 years ago. As you can see, it's done real well in the chart.
Speaks the word of me. She caught me by surprise. The way she makes me feel. Something in her eyes. It's calling my name. I didn't realize something deep inside had awakened. Oh, I felt so alive. Just this feeling, so deep inside, could be love. Oh, oh. Something in her eyes bleeds into my soul. Share my pain. How did you know? Something in her smile cools my spirit down.
like fire. It melts me with the sound. Oh, and never question a feeling. Oh, so what I'm feeling is so right. She's like the wind and my silence. Oh, I'm not really sure how far love. Oh, her sweet, sweet eyes, her sweet, sweet eyes. Something in her eyes. There's something in her eyes. Whoa, cools my soul. Something in her eyes moves my very spirit. Oh, yeah. Something in her eyes makes me tremble. Something in her eyes tells the story of the glory of love. And they say she's mine.
Okay. So tonight is the night. It's great to see that I was able to put this all together. This information I'm going to share with you, like it says in the title, is why maybe some people consider the term African American works for every swarthy colored person in America or the world. But through my investigation, I've only found one other place where copper colored people were called Afro anything. And that was Germany during World War I and World War II. You know, Hitler executed millions of black Germans as well as millions of Jews, many of which were Sephardic Jews, meaning they were from West Africa and had either migrated to Germany or were kidnapped and taken to Germany as slaves during World War I, and then thrown into concentration camps and killed in World War II. So we're going to talk about the part where the Sephardic Jew and the Morisco Moor were chased out of Southern Europe after 750 years of occupation, taught the Southern Europeans, basically brought them out of the Dark Ages, taught them mathematics, science, even taught them how to bathe themselves and put on deodorant. Can you believe that? But because they were not Christians, now this is the part that you might need to take notes on, because this is going to be like the ancient age of where this whole concept comes from, okay? The Holy Roman Catholic Church, in its crusade, you've seen it on TV, the guys with the white robes on with the big red cross down their chest, which is just for TV. That is not true. That never happened. And all of the people that involved in all three sides were all copper-colored people. The Spaniards, the Portuguese, the Morisco Moors, the Sephardic Jews, the King of England, the Queen of England, the Scots, Irish, all these people were copper-colored people fighting each other. But somewhere, somebody decided that it would make complete sense to blame it on white people and say that the white people were killing all these black people. Now, y'all understand that we live in a society that has been completely brainwashed. There's no truth to a multitude of what we've learned. And by all means, I plan to help us to understand that feature about our lives. Is that what didn't happen, didn't happen. And I'm saying this because as we get into the show can become very complicated. And it might seem long, but also, let me forget this. I'm going to ensure that as we go along in this reading, and I want to give all praise and thanks to Kurimeyo for presenting this, for doing research and finding all this information that I've been wondering, looking for. Man, since I was like 8 years old, I've known that I couldn't have been from Africa. And sometimes I didn't even believe my mama was my real mama. All right? Because there's just something in my head that says what I'm being told is not correct. And we all fell for it. We've all been brainwashed into believing what's not true in our lives. So without any further delay, and be sure and talk to yourselves about it. But one thing, there might be some blank spots occurring on your side of the camera, but I'm making sure that I keep my mouth running whenever the presentation isn't going, the reading isn't occurring. I'm going to make sure that my mouth is running so that when it catches up to my mouth, you're not sitting there wondering why there's no sound. Because there's like about a 8 to 10 second delay between StreamYard and YouTube. I am not broadcasting live from YouTube. I'm broadcasting live on YouTube, but not through YouTube. Does that make sense? In essence, I'm using a platform that I can broadcast to a number of different modules, but right here we use this one, YouTube, because I had a YouTube account, okay? And it's easy to have a YouTube account. Everybody here's got a YouTube account, okay? Go ahead and keep talking to each other. Let me press some more buttons. You know how I am. I like to share what's going on backstage, and I know I need to keep my microphone hot so that, when it catches up to you, you don't get dead space and feel like Papa Will is losing control of his live feed, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the intro. The information we are about to read here, I suggest that you put your screen on widescreen. If you're like me, I have to put it in bigger letters so it's easier for me to read. Go ahead and do that. Expand your screen so that you can read along. But what's going to be happening there's history. There's the true history of what has happened for hundreds of years on this planet. And the people that have done the research, that have done all the information gathering, have gathered all the information that is going to be presented here. And there'll be no doubts in your mind that all the receipts to prove that this is true will proceed in this reading. And like I said, fair use. I want to give explicit thanks to Kurimeyo Awa. You can look him up. If you need to know how to spell his name later on, I'll just type it in the chat if you want to know. And you'd be amazed. It's like going to a flower shop, one of them kind that's outdoor, outdoor, but it's covered, and you see all these different colors and all this amazement going on. Well, that's how his channel looks. So, much respect to him. I'm not blowing no smoke at him or nothing, but much respect to him, because I wouldn't have been able to do this myself. I did as much reading and gathering when I was in college back in 1973, but I never was able to get the cross references to back up, um, to verify my findings. I was just reading the books, and there was no such thing as computers. So what I used to do is I started a club, and we used to meet in the TV room, and everybody would bring the information that they've gathered about true American history, a true world history, and we would just share it. So that's what I'm here for. If you share information here with others, just ensure that it's along the lines that I'm going. Because personally, I could show you guys a bunch of videos of people that they start out with a piece of the truth, but the next thing you know, what they're saying and what they're showing you is not the truth whatsoever. And then they don't tell you to dodge the hijack either. They just keep on giving to you. So just give me a silent moment right here. Anybody want to, say a prayer? Because this is going to be, boy, we're about to go on a journey right here. Let me tell you, we're about to go on a journey. So let me see, which one? You got to go. We got too many of y'all up here. So let me see which, we're going to start out with the big one, the crypto expeditions, the Morisco Moors, the soldiers, the Indians, and the Moors. We're going to show you a lot of Native American people today in these videos. And like I said, this one is like 2 hours long, but I think maybe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into 30 minutes. I'm going to do 30 minutes, then I'm going to take like a 10-minute break. Then we'll do another 30 minutes, and then I'll save the rest of this video. And then I'm going to flip over to another one that's only about 30 minutes, about 38 minutes long, okay? So just get your popcorn ready, get your Hennessy, get your Coca-Cola, get your Rockstar. I'm going to go over here and get me some dollar bottle of cola, 2-liter, and some ice, and grab me some chips, some barbecue chips, and sit back and watch y'all in the chat. Happy Friday, everybody. Okay, we're having that.
What is the real story of January 6th?
Well, let me just keep talking here for a minute, then, because it's got to load up, get us the right information going on here. And I think it's ready.
Oh, wow. Pura vida. Much love and respect. Thanks for tuning in once again. I got a good video for you guys. Might be a little long one, but very informative. Just want to remind everybody that it's not just one-sided when it comes to history, not just one line, not just one nation. There's an ancestry and genealogy that gets left out a lot, many times because we were assuming these were so-called white people and they had nothing to do with us, with the history, the lineage, the bloodline. We're going to read a great article here on this website, Access Genealogy. And while we're reading this article, which has some great information, we're going to go over some past presentations to corroborate what is being written in this website, especially for the new people. If you're new to this, going over these original colonists, these original settlers, these original indentured servants, these original explorers, conquistadors that were in North America. Little known history of how a lot of these people stayed behind and settled, and most likely lived amongst the American Indians and had families with them. So again, I'm an Access Genealogy, a free genealogy website. This article is called Castaways, Deserters, Refugees, and Pirates. 40 years before Spain was able to establish a permanent colony in North America. North Africans, that's the hijack. This is literally, they're saying Iberians, right? Moorish, Sephardic Jews. They're just calling them North Africans. We're going to see. Attempted to obtain permanent resident status in the land of the free. All right, so they're not talking about them coming here as shackled up as slaves. This is a documented fact, not speculation or an interpretation of available circumstantial evidence. All right, we're talking about real history here. What is not known is whether they were accepted as citizens of a particular indigenous province, started their own community, or were killed by the locals. Because of the propensity of Native Americans to be initially hospitable to guests, the probability is high that at least some of these newcomers survived and added their DNA to the regional gene pool. Continuing here, there is no accurate measure of the number of shipwrecks along the South Atlantic coast and the Gulf of Mexico, but the number must be in the hundreds or even over 1,000. Also not known is how many shipwrecked sailors and passengers survived in North America during the 1500s and 1600s, or how many Sephardic Jews, Muslim Moors, and European Protestants. And Protestants, most of the Protestants we already know are Moors or Jews, Sephardic Jews. Escaping the Spanish Inquisition, right? The Spanish Inquisition, so they were going after the Protestants. The Inquisition, I thought that was for Jews and Moors. Remember? So because these people are crypto Christians or new converso Christians, they are Protestants now, but they are secretly Moors or Sephardic Jews who were also escaping the Spanish Inquisition because it was the same people. Landed on the shores of the present-day southeastern United States. All right, they don't know. They're telling you, we don't know how many came. We can't say it was a little bit. We can't say it was a lot, but we can't leave out the possibility that it was a lot. Surviving archives, however, do furnish credible evidence of these people settling in the of the southeast, while officially was coastal regions. All right, so officially they're telling us, well, only the English came and colonized. No, they leave a big part. They're telling right here of the Spanish or these Sephardic Jews and Muslim Moors and these European Protestants, right? Huguenots and all these other Protestants or new Christians, conversos, cryptos. Now, I was going to give an example. It's going to give us a lot of examples in this website. We're going to go over this information. It starts with San Miguel de Guadalupe Colony, 1526 to 1527. Now, we got a video on this. We're going to go to it. We're just going to read a little bit of what it's saying right here in the website. It says, in 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Leon, a wealthy Spanish sugar planter from Hispaniola, and he wasn't, this is a whitewash image, all right? Personally financed a colonial expedition that contained over 600 colonists. Historians currently believe that the colony was established on one of the islands at the mouth of the Altamaha River in Georgia. Ion either was not a competent logistics planner or he expected to steal what food he needed from neighboring indigenous villages, as was the practice farther south. However, the indigenous peoples along the coast were only part-time agriculturalists. Much of the flat terrain was unsuitable for agriculture, especially on the islands. While the village was under construction, the 80 Moorish prisoners of war, 80 what? Moorish, who were essentially slaves. Who's the slaves? Not Africans coming from West Africa. These are people, Iberians. They were, remember, they're doing the Inquisition, right?
And Moorish means black, dark skinned. Some associated with being from Africa, but Moors are from all over the world.
Events of neighbor Indians, the Moors went AWOL. The who? The Moors. So what happened? They got together with the Indians and led a revolt. Oh, remember they always telling us the Africans did a revolt against their slave masters. Actually, it wasn't Africans, and Moors doesn't necessarily mean they were coming from Africa either. We already know that they're talking about Portuguese and Spanish Moors, the Iberians they were kicking out. They were never seen or heard from again. What happened to these 80 Moorish prisoners? They got with the Indians and bounced. All right, so where's their descendants? This was in the 1500s. We're going to show you what? 1520s. 1520s. Unlike the Arawak culture, it was the custom of Muscovian provinces to be inclusive. Great sons often ruled over several ethnic groups. Bands of friendly strangers would be assigned to unoccupied lands and incorporated into province. All right, who? Friendly strangers. They were getting what? Assigned occupied lands by the Indians. Therefore, it is quite
Indian
likely
means
these
Native
Moors
American.
settled somewhere within the interior of Georgia and intermarried with the locals. What? These Moors what? Married with the locals. Muscovian originally had no concept of skin color based races.
And see, they were able to do this because everybody was copper color. So the Native American was copper color, the Sephardic Jew was copper color, the Morisco Moor was copper color, even the British were copper color, even the Spaniards and the Portuguese were all copper colored people. That's why when they got over here to the United States, they were able to run away because they looked just like the people that was here. It was no difference in the look. It'd be like somebody come to your neighborhood and he looks just like you would welcome him in, right? Unless he started killing you or something crazy like that. Okay?
You understand what they're trying to say? They're trying to say the Muscovians were light skinned, so that's why they didn't care that the Moors were dark skinned. They didn't. These are all people of color. Dodge to hijack. All right, and you see this little footnote right here where they're getting this information. If you click on it, which I did, it brings you to this book, New Order of Things, Property, Power, and the Transformation of the Creek Indians, 1733 to 1816. Okay, by Claudio Sant. The info's there, the history is there. What more settling in Georgia, escaping, right? Going AWOL, as they said, getting with the Indians, the wild Indians together, and fleeing, right? Disappearing. A lot of them intermarrying with the local women. A lethal form of dysentery with symptoms like cholera swept through the colony, eventually killing many of the colonists, including Aillon. Meanwhile, the survivors suffered from starvation and scurvy. A total of about 150 colonists made it back to Hispaniola in the late spring of 1527, all right? So the Aillon expedition, right? You see what happened? He wasn't successful. He eventually died there, and a lot of his so-called prisoners, which wasn't just Moorish prisoners, it actually also included some Indians they were bringing up from Hispaniola and the Caribbean. So this is my video right here. The first colony was not Roanoke. This is the cover, San Miguel de Guadalupe, first colony, Lucas Vasquez de Aillon. And it proves that the first slaves were not in 1619. I don't know if you guys caught that, right? He had slaves, right? And this is way before 1619. So what do you mean the first slaves came in 1619? See, you guys didn't catch that, huh?
See, those are the lies that we get told as we're growing up in our American history. Now we're finding out the truth.
Jews and Muslims in British colonial America. Great book. We read every chapter. Make sure to catch up to the presentations. And it says, we have already mentioned of South Carolina's very early Sephardic Moorish history. South Carolina. Remember my South Carolina video? All right. So if you haven't watched that video, this is the one I'm talking about. It says Sephardic Moorish, Morisco, free people of color, plantation owners of South Carolina, Huguenots, and servitude.
You want to go see this guy's channel, subscribe up to him, and find out about all of us all over the planet, how we went from being all copper colored people to various shades of the people that you find now.
Sure to go back, try, to catch up on the information to see what we have already researched and gone over, so we can surf the wave in real time together and go through the journey together. All right, let's go back. So again, we have already made mention of South Carolina's very early Sephardic and Moorish history, very early. In 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón, a prominent settler and sugar grower on his Hispaniola, set an expedition to North Atlantic coast. The colony of 500 settlers, including Ayllón, landed somewhere on the South Carolina coast, but met with several disasters. A year later, 150 of the colonists managed to straggle back to Hispaniola. The fate of the remaining ones is unknown. They don't know what happened to them. They can't say they all died. We would argue that these settlers were very likely Sephardim and Moors. Sephardim and Moors, because we're about to go read how he brought up slaves and Indians. So he brought up Indians, as well as these people, Sephardic and Moorish people. All right, so I just want to go ahead and stop it right there and real quick, just let you know to see how they're corroborating the website, that these were Sephardic Jews and Moors. These people, these so-called settlers, prisoners of war, soldiers they were bringing. All right, continue. Right, a lot of them were being persecuted and they were looking for a new place, a new home. And he was helping them because he was also a Sephardic Jew. All right, so again, we're gonna read how, first of all, they lied to us, talking about they brought the so-called first slaves in 1619. That's a lie, because we're about to show that this Ayllón supposedly brought his own so-called slaves or Negro slaves, right? A lot of these so-called Negro is what we got to relate to what we're reading right now. Again, could have been an Indian, or it could have been a Sephardic Jew or more. We just read earlier, right, that there was 80 Moors, prisoners of war, that were basically slaves. It told us straight up, basically slaves, but they were actually Moors who were prisoners of war. So we got to dodge the hijack with the information I'm about to read you in the next couple of books. All right, and just go with the flow. At least to the point is that we're going to prove that we're proving so many things today. First of all, that 1619 was not, we already know there was people of color here in America since ancient times. So that's not the first so-called, black people that came, and then regarding the first so-called slaves or servants, that's also false, because again, we got this expedition who we're going to see as we read later on in this video. They were also considered so-called Negroes. When you don't know the history that a lot of these are Sephardic or Moors, they leave that out. They just call them so-called Negroes or slaves. But we're going to see that they had Caribs and all the other indigenous populations they were bringing up out of these 600. They needed servants too. They needed people to carry the bags and all that. So it's all that. So again, we would argue that these settlers were very likely Sephardim and Moors, as there's little else to justify their being willing to leave the settled prosperity of Spanish Hispaniola to venture to the mosquito-ridden unknown coast of North America, unless the recently arrived Inquisition had caused them to recalculate their odds in a Catholic colony. In 1563, the Frenchmen were aided by Sir John Hawkins, an English prophet. Chapter 1, it says, Ayllón. And remember, John Hawkins was also Sephardic Jew. He was a privateer or pirate. Who were the pirates? Who had the ships? It says here, Ayllón is a Sephardic surname. All right? Ayllón is Sephardic Jew. These are people of color. That's why I told you, dodge the hijack with the whitewashed images. The settlers named the place where they first made landfall River Jordan, or the Jordan River. Present-day Cape Fear River. All right? This is the area. We would advance the same reasoning for Hernando de Soto's a Sephardic surname. De Soto, Hernando de Soto, a Sephardic surname. He's also a Sephardic Jew. Remember Hernando de Soto? We got the video recently. He went up in the Tolomeco temple. It was full of pearls with all his Moorish soldiers too. Remember, man, they changed the script on us. They gave us these false narratives. And this is the genealogical history of these people. If you really study their families' ancestry, De Soto, Leon, what these people really were, you see that these were Sephardic Jews and Muslim Moors, a lot of them, these original Spaniards and colonists. All right, 600-person expedition in 1540 through the southeastern region of North America. So that's when they went to the Tolomeco Temple. Remember, he said he couldn't even carry back all those pearls. Even if he had 600 people, there was not enough of them to carry all the pearls that were inside that temple in the same area. See where they are, right? So it might have been somebody go back to me, said, hey, it might be in the Savannah River in Georgia. I'm like, yeah, you might be right. And I just wanted to show you guys that Leon, because we're going to be talking about him, is not going to mention any of this in those books. It's not going to say nothing about him being Sephardic or him bringing up Moors. That's why I wanted to come here first and get this new information in here, right? So we can get a clear perspective of who this Leon guy and who he might have also in this 600-person crew of his ship, right? Moors and Sephardic Jews, kind of Catholics.
The book is called Spanish Settlements Within the Present Limits of the United States from 1513 to 1561 by Woodbury Lowry. All right, so we're in chapter 2 of this book.
And I just want to stop it right there real quick. So that was the book we're about to read in this video. Again, I'm skipping through different parts of the video. This is 25 minutes in. Make sure to catch the whole video. It's really, really good. I just skipped over a lot of good information as I was doing this. We're going to get to the part we're talking about right now about Lucas Vasquez Leon, the Leon expedition. Okay, so again, that was the book. And here's the part we're going to read.
His name was Lucas Vasquez de Leon. So Leon. All right, so it says here, there was living in Hispaniola a certain Lucas Vasquez de Leon of Toledo, who had come there with Ovando, from whom he received the appointment of alcalde mayor or mayor, right? Mayor of La Concepcion and other towns. He had now become one of the auditors of the island, and he was said to be a man of considerable intelligence, well educated and virtuous, according to the standard of the times, though unlearned in the arts of war, never having done a corslet or borne a sword to earn his wages therewith, says Oviedo, who was personally acquainted with him.
All right, remember this Lucas Leon. Leon is a Sephardic Jewish name. All right, this is a person of color.
He was very rich, having received from Ovando 400 Indians in repartimientos in payment of his salary, as was that time the custom. All right, so what are they talking about? Repartimiento. So the Spaniards, when they took over, settlements, Indian settlements, and they put them and grouped them wherever they had their missions or whatever, then they will distribute them. So repartir in Spanish is to distribute. So repartimiento is like a distribution of the Indians. So he got 400. That's a lot. Because I have, like in my country, this happened in 1569 in Costa Rica, where they put all the Indians in missions because we were living all spread out through the whole country. So they gathered us up and put us in different missions. Once they had us in the missions, they did their repartimientos. And I have a book with the list, the numbers they distributed to each Spaniard or colonist, right? And again, they call it repartimiento, and then it becomes an encomienda. So now you had an indentured servant, right? So this guy had, he got lucky. He got 400 Indians, right? That's a lot of servants, right?
It's game day. All eyes on me.
The truth about what he's saying is
Stirred up, no doubts, by reports of kingdoms to be had for the mere asking. Leon associated himself with Diego Caballero, clerk of the Audiencia of the island, secured a license for his undertaking, and in 1520 dispatched a caravel from the port of La Plata, having Francisco Gordillo as captain and Alonso Fernandez Sotil as pilot, with directions to sail northward until the continent was reached. All right, so remember, this is in, if you don't know, in Santo Domingo, which is in Hispaniola, Dominican Republic. This is where they're talking about. All right, so it so happened that shortly before the departure of Leon's caravel, Juan Ortiz de Matienzo, another auditor of the same island, had sent out a caravel under the command of Pedro de quechos, or quechos, in search of Caribs. All right, in search of what? Caribs to sell as slaves. Caribs to sell as slaves. All right, not Africans. You see, they're putting all their time and effort, all their charters, everything they're being financed under their Spanish king and queen. All right. So look what they're enslaving. All right. Look where they're doing it. They're doing it here. What again? They're in search of Caribs to sell as slaves in virtue of the general license of October 30, 1503. That's what I was just talking about. All right. So a license to basically enslave Carib Indians, right? Not
And I'm going to pause it right there so I can catch you up. Now, notice we're in the 1500s, and there is no mention of a 1492 Columbus discovering America. It didn't happen. And future, and then later, he showed it once. Columbus worked as what they call the crypto Christian, meaning that you was a Sephardic Jew and you pretended to convert to Christianity so that the Holy Roman Catholic Church would not kill you off, because that's what the Inquisition was all about. If you didn't convert, they killed you. And as you can see, as it has happened all over the world, and right now Russia's trying to do it to the Ukraine, is the stronger, bigger power will do everything it can to destroy what it considers to be a lesser challenge or combatant, somebody that doesn't have the ability to beat you in a fair fight. And then you capture them, you enslave all the men, or kill them off. You know, if they don't convert to Christianity, you kill them off. You enslave all the children, and you rape and impregnate all the women, and that in one generation, these people will think that they were from Spain. They will think they're from Portugal. They will be speaking the Spanish language as best they can by converting from the native tongue of being a Morisco Moor, being a Sephardic Jew, being a Native American. That's the hijack when they say Indian, because Indian was some idiotic idea of somebody that was lost somewhere and assumed that these must be Indians because they look just like the people in India. And they look like the people in Europe that they called Indian. Indian in those terms means, dark skinned or melanated, light skinned black people. All those terms can be used to call yourself Indian. But in reality, these people all had tribal names. Like my family's tribal, they're Peoria, Cahokia Indians on my mother's side. And on my father's side, they're West Indies Indian, Scott Irish, part Filipino descendants, And fortunately for any of them, I'm not afraid to say they were slaves, because that's what I used to believe. That's what I was taught to believe, that if you was black, your ancestors were slaves. Now we find out in everybody's country at a time, they had all been victimized by slavery, by these Holy Roman Catholics from Spain and Portugal, and then the French was in on it, the British was in deposing people and sending them to America. So that's just to kind of keep you guys in tune with what's going on. Let's get back to some reading.
Africans, Carib Indians. In this traffic, the auditor's name did not openly appear, having failed to secure the intended cargo. Quejo's caravel was returning home when, in the neighborhood of the island of Luca Yonique, it fell with Ali Yon's vessel, which apparently had been cruising about for several months on errands of which no account remains. So these errands, I wonder what they were. Were they enslaving American Indians? Is that what these errands were? That is not, there's no account of. Here the two commanders exchanged advices, and Quejos finally decided to sail with Portillo for the mainland, intending, as it subsequently appeared, to fill his empty hold with slaves to go get Caribs, all right? So he joined up looking to go to the mainland. They're talking about North America, the United States, like Florida and Louisiana, all these places, the mainland. To get what? To fill his empty hold with
You
slaves.
hear
To
that?
get slaves.
They didn't bring no
He's
slaves
trying to
over here from
colonize. He
Africa.
wanted
They
to get
took the
slaves.
natives,
Sailing
turned
slowly
them into
northward for
slaves.
8 or 9 days, or as some report, driven by stress of weather. In June of the year following Gordillo's departure in 1521, the two caravels came upon the continent in latitude 33 degrees 30, according to Quejo's testimony, at the mouth of a considerable river to which the name of St. John the Baptist was given,
St. John the
because of
Baptist.
its discovery on the feast day of the saint. The Indians appear to have called the country Chicora, and it lay perhaps somewhere in the vicinity of Cape Fear. 20 men were sent ashore in the boats to secure the goodwill of the natives, the necessity of which Alion had impressed upon his commander, while the ship sought to enter the river. We're at this website called the historynewsnetwork.org.
And
It's
y'all
from
know what
Columbia
that meant.
College in
That meant
Arts
to
and
go
Sciences,
in
the George
and
Washington
kill off
University,
anybody that didn't
the
agree with
forgotten
it.
first attempt to plant a colony on U.S. soil. And this is going to correlate with what we just actually read in the book. We're going to go back to it, but I just wanted to show you that it says in June 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Alion, a wealthy Spanish official in the city of Santo Domingo, Hispaniola, founded a colony near the mouth of the Petey River in eastern South Carolina. Alion's effort has been overlooked, perhaps because most people prefer to believe that the U.S. life began with the arrival of English-speaking Anglo-Saxons living under the British law. Perhaps its settlement
God's
neglected
hijack.
because of its tragic fate, death by mismanagement, disease, and slave revolt. Slave revolt. Perhaps it is unmentioned because of its unique. All right, I just want to remind everybody right there when it says slave revolt. Again, it was the Moors, as we read earlier, who went AWOL with the Indians that did the slave revolt. And then they bounced with the Indians and intermarried, as we read earlier, all right? So let's not forget that these so-called slave revolts. Unique rebirth in the woods by people not considered a worthy part of the U.S. heritage. Alion prepared for his great adventure in 1520 by sending Captain Francisco Gordillo, that's what we just read about in the other book, to locate a good landing site and build friendly relations with the local inhabitants. The captain instead teamed up with a slave hunter, Pedro de Quejos. You hear this? That's the other guy in the book, right? And Quejos, remember, had a license to enslave Carib Indians. It was a license he was given. It's not that he
Oh
was just a
yeah,
slave
yeah.
hunter.
Remember
He was
him?
given a license by the king.
Given a
Well,
license.
failing to
Yeah.
survey a site or build good
Yeah.
relations with anyone, the two men
People.
captured 17 Native Americans.
See there?
Captured who?
Native
17
Americans.
Native Americans, not Africans,
Not
and brought them
Africans.
back to Santo Domingo as slaves.
Slaves.
The first
And
European
slaves
act
of
on what is
free
now U.S.
Americans.
soil was making slaves of free men and women. Again, the first European act on what is now U.S. soil, the first act ever by any European and American in the United States, all right, was making slaves of free men and women.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So I just want to
There
stop with
goes
this. That was deep
there
information, you
goes
guys. I hope you heard that.
transatlantic
So they
slave
were
trade.
grabbing, American Indians, not Africans, again, North America, bringing them back to Santo Domingo, Hispaniola, right? And then they told us in school that when the local population would die out or escape, right, they would need to bring in so-called Africans or other Negroes to replenish them, right? Well, a lot of those are American Indians they're talking about.
American
And
Indians.
they're undesirable Moors and Sephardic Jews, the Inquisition, people they didn't want over there in Europe.
Yep. The cryptos.
As an entrepreneur,
What they wanted to do is they wanted to turn Americans into slaves. And that's what they did. Now let me stop here once again. A key word here is reports. That means that in the histories of this time period, with these actions occurring, factual information was recorded, and that information is what we're being made privy of in this reading. This reading is not of some man decide, okay, this is the story I want to tell, like Woodrow Wilson did, creating a whole encyclopedia of falsehoods about history in this world, in this country especially. You know that name Indian. All these derogatory inquisitions that were injected into our history. That here we are with the actual reports of what actually happened, gathered by experts that have been verified. This information that we're seeing right here has all been verified, or else I wouldn't be showing it. I would this, I go through a lot of videos looking for the truth, and some of them start out with the truth, but you know how you can tell the difference between the facts and what's being made up? The facts are written right here. Right here. If this information right here was not true, it would not be presented by Kurimeyo, because he's a researcher. I'm a researcher. So I have to verify what information he gives as best I can with my limited capabilities. Okay. But I want everybody that's listening today and any other day or ever hears uh, this live to understand that this was not a made up. This is not a lie. When he says that they took Native Americans from America and took them off to Spain, it is the truth. Now, if you see anything that starts talking to you, telling you that a transatlantic slave trade occurred, they are lying to you. And I'm not yelling at you. I just want to make the emphasis important, because I'm not typing right now, so I can't put this in all caps and bold italic letters, that there was no such thing as an Atlantic slave trade. There was no such thing as Christopher Columbus discovering America, although Christopher Columbus worked, like I said, he was a Sephardic Jew convert, and they called those crypto. You know the word crypto, we know that word in our society today, that means hidden beneath, just out of eyesight, cryptocurrency. So a crypto Christian was a Sephardic Jew that claimed to the Holy Roman Catholic Church that I convert. And so they give him a job to do what? Go and kill other Morisco Moors, Sephardic Jews, and Native Americans. There you have it. Spanish. We have the Spanish to thank for all this changes. Afro Americans, Afro Spaniards. Okay, I'm going to stop the show right here. We've achieved our first 30 minutes, and on the total clock, it adds up to an hour and 8. That's including the breaks and everything. And let's take a little break, refresh, talk about what we've gone over. And Frankie Blanco, why don't you drop me a link to one of your songs, man, so I can play it. I'm gonna go grab some more music while we take this little time out, okay, y'all? Y'all don't mind if I go play some more music, give everybody a chance to let everything filter through, right? First, I got to show y'all this right here. I have to do this every show. This is my number one fan right here. This is my number one supporter of what I do. And I have to bring him on in here. So, welcome to the stage, y'all. Get your hands together.
Bill, Y2K Associates. Hey, it's the Big Chip's birthday party. He turned the Big Dirty. And this is how it stands. This is the reaction. It's going down. Y2K Associates. Computer Chips party. It's going down. 2009. Jimmy G all in the building. Yeah. Hey, oh lady. Hey, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Y2K Associates. It's Chip's 30th birthday, and we out here celebrating. This is the big Papa Will, you know what I'm saying? Just like back in the day. Y'all better ask somebody. YouTube, MySpace. Everybody out here, man. This is how we get down. This is how we party. This is how we do it. Go, Bob. Go, Bob. Go, Bob. Go, Bob.
I always have to play that. But next, we got our other sponsor.
I'm gonna dedicate this song to all my fallen soldiers out there, man.
Fallen soldiers out here.
You know what I'm saying? To all my people's doing hard
all my
time.
people's doing hard
to all
time.
my street hustlers, man. My street
First
soldiers.
White.
You know what I'm saying? We still out here grinding, man. We out here grinding. Huh. Let's get this money. Let's go.
I woke up in the morning, gotta thank God for seeing another day. I got money on my mind, looking for another way, living this life I live. Gotta stay grinding till my pockets run. Got my hands on my pistol, it's so long now. I'm living this street life, yeah. I'm living this street life, yeah. I'm living this street life, yeah. I gotta find a way, I gotta get paid. I stay hugging the block. Gotta stay grinding to the top. I'm getting money, I'm getting money.
I'm getting money, got this game on lock. Living this life I live, trying to feed my family in peace. Living this life I live, gotta get this money for the rich. That's why I push a hard line. I keep my pistols by my wayside. To all my peoples doing hard times, just keep your head up, it's gonna be alright, yeah. Here's a true story of a hustler's life. Counting money on the block day and night. Gotta stay grinding till my pockets run. Got my hands on my pistol, it's so long now. I'm living this street life, yeah. I'm living. Gotta find a way, I gotta get paid. I'm a certified hustler. Gotta get that mayonnaise and that mustard. Can't be soft like custard. I'm dodging all you haters and you bust. Gotta stay grinding till my pockets run. Got my hands on my pistol, it's so long now. Living this street life, yeah. I'm living this street life, yeah. I'm living this street life, yeah. I gotta find a way, I gotta get paid.
We be ballin'. We ball out.
I pull up to the line, drop a 3 on them. Dagger in the heart, Kobe lean on them. Look them in the eye, love mean on them. Untouchable, triple team on them. 5 champion rings on them. Lingo, fresh and clean on them. Yeah, I'll be ballin'. MVP shot calling. Forever a legend. Look in the sky, my name is written in heaven. Forever a legend. Look in the sky, my name is written in heaven. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we be ballin'. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we ball out, ball out. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we be ballin'. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we ball out, ball out. Forever legendary, we ready to ball, baby. Forever legendary, let's shoot for the stars, baby. Forever legendary, we ready to ball, baby. Forever legendary, let's shoot for the stars, baby. I live my life like a rock star. Everywhere I go, they know who you are. When I'm on the road, baby, Getting money on the go, baby. I'm legendary like an icon. Got this game on lock like a python. 24 to the hole, baby. You're not knowing now, you know, baby. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we be ballin'. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we ball out, ball out. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we be ballin'. Northern Cali, we be showing love. From the Bay to LA, we ball out, ball out. Forever legendary, we ready to ball, baby. Forever legendary, let's shoot for the stars, baby. Forever legendary, we ready to ball, baby. Forever legendary, let's shoot for the stars, baby. I slide through when it's crunch time. Game winner, fourth quarter clutch time. Man, I'm so legendary. My game so pretty. Crossover, Holly Berry. Come see me in the battlefield. Mama mentality, shoot to kill. I shine like my chain. Throw my jersey on, keep it lit, Laker game. Forever legendary. We ready to ball, ready to ball. Forever legendary. Let's shoot for the stars, baby. Forever legendary. We ready to ball, ready to ball. Forever legendary. Let's shoot for the stars, baby. Let's shoot for the stars, yeah. 1, 2, 3, call me.
Managing the lean wave.
You're all a bunch of fucking assholes. You know why? You don't have the guts to be what you want to be. You need people like me, so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
With my forehead.
Every day, all day. Point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
Up in California, ayy. Real niggas from the Bay. From Frisco to San Jose, we on a paper chase. Looking ahead for better days. From the cradle to the grave. We mob for it, partner by the dock of the bay. I'm on the block with the Glock, still copping the yay. And you don't really need the vest, cause you'll get popped in the face. I'm on some old 89 shit, rocking the bass. I'm on a paper chase, trying to stuff a knot in the safe. Keep pistols by my waist and pot the knot in the safe. I'm like the Raspberry Bonds, puffin' Blueberry Bond. And I'm a ball like LeBron, stack chips like Sean John. It's all official blood, young thugs hustle for life. Not really tripping off the consequences, knowing the price. You know this ghetto life got us living so ghetto trifling. You can find me in the ghetto, in the cutlass with the metal pipes. Black and white, rally stripes, mobbing through the ghetto night. I see the light, searching for a better life. Expensive life, we mob it, we mob it, we mob it, we mob it.
With my forehead. With my forehead.
Every day, all day.
With my forehead.
Up in California, ayy. Real niggas from the Bay.
You need people like me, so you can point your fucking
Frisco to San Jose,
and say, that's
we
the
on the
bad
paper
guy.
chase.
We mobbing like we all out of brake fluid.
We make history every time we make music. Not losing like the 72 Dolphins, stepping through bosses, balling and flossing, making you nauseous, saying Quinn, a hip hop messiah with the block to block riders, bait niggas the illest, call me biased, tries and get tied up, duct tape to hitting, we touch paper, shake prison, my eyes full of ambition, pistol full of ammunition for my protection and my protection alone. We can chop game or I can come and wreck your dome from the 415, and when I slide up, all you hear is my 415s slapping the rap game. Yeah, man, we in this for the kids to one day run the family business. We tear one-on-one, Highway 80 and 880. My homies in 100-degree heat, they still shake.
We on this thug shit, money, power, drug shit, mobbing like the Taliban. Bundles wrapped in rubber bands, don't test me. The young Joe Pesci, shit gets messy on the block. I'ma get it from slanging raps, or I'ma get it from slanging rocks. It don't stop. This shit is hot like the summertime. And if you wanna hear it again, they gonna press rewind. Cause I'm that nigga sipping wine in the booth, 80 proof, Grey Goose. Let me get loose, I'm a monster, steak and lobster. We make reservations up at crest stations. I like the finer things of life. This rhyme is dedicated to my cousin Comatose.
You need people like me, so you can point your fucking fingers. I say that's the bad guy.
We're Marvin.
Says here, Melungeons, the last lost tribe in America. All right, who's the Melungeons? Who's the Melungeons? Elizabeth Caldwell Hirschman. And I'm on page 61 of this book, and it says here, now we must supplement the historical record with some additional and significant information. Major Abram Wood was part of a large Sephardic family, which had arrived early in the colonies and by the early 1600s was placed in South Carolina, and by the latter 1600s had also found its way to Maryland. South Carolina was actually a major place where Huguenots, French Huguenots arrived, Moorish, Moriscos, and then up in France. Further, we must also know that Governor Spotswood himself was born in Morocco and was likely familiar with Sephardic and Moorish emigres from the Mediterranean to the New World. Spotwood's probable intent in traveling to the Blue Ridge Mountains was not merely to claim this territory for England, which had already been done, but rather to search for silver mines reputed to have been abandoned by the early Spanish colonists from Santa Elena. Thickening the matter further is the fact that Germania, colony at which he stopped and took on men and supplies, does not appear to have been settled by ethnic Germans, but rather Sephardic Jews from Holland and Bohemia, who were specifically recruited by Spotwoods for their mining and metallurgical expertise. Sephardic Jews from Germania, a colony of Germans, not from Germans, but Sephardic Jews. We should also bear in mind that the Spanish were still actively present in Florida, Louisiana, and other parts of the Southeast during this time period, and further that they and the English were hardly alone on the continent. Further down in the book, it says in 1754, 1755, and 1756, the French and Indians attacked colonial settlements in southwestern Virginia near New River, Reed Creek, and Holston River. A list of those killed, wounded, or taken prisoner has been preserved and is given below. All right, so they have a list of the names of these people. All right, pay attention to what they're going to say. It is instructive in that we see on it not only Scotch, Irish, and English names, but also those whose name would seem to indicate Jewish or what? Moorish, Melungeon ancestry. Moorish, what? Melungeon, Moorish, Melungeon ancestry, Jewish. All right. So this is the list. It starts right here. Adam Benjamin, John Cook, Lynn. They're saying these are Jewish Moors or some of these Welshire. So look, Dutch Jacob, that's Frederick Stern, Benjamin Davis, Isaac Freeland, Lieutenant Wright, Colonel James Patton, Barrier Draper, Cole, Leonard Griffin, Looney, Lee, Mudd, Smith, Mann, Harmon, Moses, John Smith, Looney, Bratton, Smith, Pepper, Medley, Lyon, Goodman, Harrison, Berg, Baker, Stallnaker, Hidden, Stallnaker, Cooney, Hawk, McFarlane, Benchman. Also settled in the area at the time were Peter Matthias, Adam David, Jacob and Henry Harmon, William and Richard Hall, Haley Tobias, Philip and Joseph Cladd, Benjamin Angel, David Curry, Richard Hines, James Lyons, Richard Paris, Nathaniel Gist, son of Christopher Gist, Joseph Martin, Alicia Walden, William Carr, William Cadbury, James Albridge, Henry Skaggs, John Henry, Anthony Bledsoe, and John and Valentine Javier, all I propose of Sephardic Moorish descent, all Sephardic Moorish descent. By the 1770s, They had been joined by Robert and James Davis, Alexander Willie, Hugh Gallion, John Barry, Andrew Charles, John Lewis, Lieutenant Goldman, and by 30 June 1770, nearly Moore's Fort had the following troops. List of the troops at Fort Moore, right? So there's a list of all these names. It says down here on 22 July 1776, Virginia organized a battalion of soldiers from the southwestern portion of the state to battle the Cherokee Indians. Among these soldiers, as listed below, are several I propose to be a Sephardic, right? Sephardic, look how they wrote it, Sephardic Moorish descent. Who? Soldiers fighting who? And look at the names. Oh, we got one of them, John Adair from France, Adair. All right, so these are some names of what he's saying are Sephardic or Moorish. And what I want to show you is on the footnote of this, it says right here, the reader is requested to compare the names on the following two lists with the list of Sephardic surnames available at, and this is the website. Make sure you go to this website, is www.sephardim.com if you want to check the last names so you can see what she's saying. All right, and there's more last names here. She's saying a lot of these are Sephardic or Moorish last names. So that's what I was saying earlier. Who really, was coming to America? We got to really think about all these indentured servants. Are they all just because they're European? Are they all pale skin? Are they all just what we think of white, pale, Caucasian? No. A lot of these Europeans were Muslims. A lot of these Europeans were Jewish, Sephardic Jews, and all kinds of different people. All right. In the list, this is a long list. It says from comparing these seller lists with lists of documented Sephardic surnames, it is apparent that several persons of Sephardic Moorish ancestry are present at this time. Contemporaneous with these settlers was Daniel Boone. Oh, the famous Daniel Boone. They said he was colored, right? Boone, America's archetypic pioneer. Boone had learned of Kentucky and the Cumberland Gap, leading it to during it the French and Indian War. Just want to go to the footnote. It says 14. Remember, it says it is apparent several persons of Sephardic Moorish ancestry present at this time. Footnote 14. It says even John Xavier and his brother Valentin were of Moorish descent. The family Xavier or Javier, right? That's how we say in Spanish, Xavier, having fled to France during the Inquisition. They're Moors who what? Fled to France. One last thing in this book, I just want to read here. It says one other early families living at Fort Blackmore was Samuel Alley and his daughter Polly, who was captured by Indians but later escaped. When reading through these historical events, I was suddenly struck by the names returned to the listing of Sephardic and Moorish surnames. Again, Sephardic and Moorish together, and discovered that with the exception of John Carter and Harry Innes, most of the other settlers appeared to be of Sephardic Moorish descent. That's 16, and it says 16. Volumes 1 9 of Colonial Families of the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Westminster, Maryland Family Line Publication says were examined for Sephardic, Moorish, and or Melungeon first names and surnames. Inspection of genealogy suggested that of the following families were of Sephardic Moorish descent. Numbers in parentheses following family names are pasted. So these are the names and last names. There's actually a whole study on this. Continues says, indeed, in his history of Scott County, Virginia, 1932, and you can see the list of names, and it goes on. Look how big it is. Says here, list the following families, which I found to have predominantly Sephardic, Moorish, Melungeon first names. Addington, Bryson, Borough. All right, keeps going. The Washington County, Virginia, and all these lists. Now going back here, it says, indeed, in his history of Scott County, Virginia, in 1932, Addington comments that the original spellings of Blackmore and Alley were Blackamore or Blackmore, and Ali or Ali, Ali. By 1776, a Samuel Cohen had arrived with his family, and by 1794, they had been joined by James John and Peter Van Berber, Vincent Job and Abraham Hobbs, Adam Eli, and George Joachim. By 1783, Daniel and Manassas Frio had opened a dry goods store in Abington, Virginia, and by 1784, Joseph Gibbs, Samuel Ware, Ashwell Rollins, Andrew Greer, Valentine Sevier, and Archibald Stone had settled in Jonesboro, Tennessee. In essence, a small Sephardic Moorish Melungeon community had formed in the midst of the Appalachian wilderness. Sephardic Moors, Blackamore is Blackmore, Blackamore. All right, just want to correlate it real quick because I this in this book. Just read a little bit. It's called Appalachian Folkways by John B. Reeder. It says here, who are Melungeons? Possible origins of the term Melungeon are interesting yet confusing. The French word mélanger means mixed or blended. The Greek melas means dark or black. The African Portuguese melungo or melango means shipmate. All right, shipmate. The Turkish terms melan and khan, which together sound like melunjon, translate as damned fool. Several colorful theories surround the Melungeon origins, but the most plausible traces Melungeons to the dark-skinned peoples of North Africa and Iberia, Spain, and Portugal, and possibly Turkey. Brent Kennedy, who is a Melungeon and a contemporary expert on the subject, discovered his own genetic connection to the Mediterranean through a rare illness, erythema nodosum sarcoidosis, that he contracted in 1988. Kennedy's ensuing field and documentary research pointed to Mediterranean Moors, Turks, Berbers, and Iberians. If we accept that Melungeons came from the Mediterranean stock, how did they arrive in Appalachia so early before 1700? Kennedy distills his thoughts. I contend that the remnants of João Juan Pardo's forts, joined by the Portuguese refugees from Santa Elena and possibly a few stray Dominicans and Jesuits, exiled Moorish, French Huguenots, and escaped Acadians, along with Drakes and perhaps other freed Turkish, Moorish, and Iberian captives survived on these shores. Combined forces over the ensuing years moved to the hinterlands, intermarried with various Carolina and Virginia Native Americans, and eventually became the reclusive Melungeons. I as strongly contend that the Turkish Moorish element was, at least in the beginning, the predominant one, explaining why the probable Turkish self descriptive term Melungeon came to be associated with various populations regardless of their location. All right. So remember that we learned that it's possibly that Abraham Lincoln's mom, who was very dark skinned, and him himself, who was dark skinned, right? She might have been Melungeon. We learned that, right? So this book saying, Melungeons are basically these people who basically mix with native people over here. And continues, says Kennedy's statements required considerable explanation. In 1566, Spanish officer Captain Joe Pardo, probably of Portuguese descent, brought 200 Iberian soldiers to Santa Elena. Listen to this: Iberian soldiers, Moorish, right, a Spanish colony in the vicinity of Beaufort, South Carolina. Pardo sent groups of soldier settlers into the interior to build 4 or 5 forts in the northern Georgia, western North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee. Kennedy believes that the Pardo forts and established settlement at Santa Elena formed some of the more plausible entry points for the first Melungeons. A second source for entry assigned to Sir Francis Drake, who in 1586 captured about 500 Moors, Turks, some South American Indians, and a few Iberian soldiers. It is said that Drake may have deposited this human cargo on the North Carolina coast of Roanoke Island, Roanoke Moor, Roanoke. Are they really dropping some Moors there? At Francis Drake, that was going on the site of the English settlement known as the Lost Colony. Uncertain at best, but if true, this would have been a source and entry for dark-skinned Moorish Turkish Iberian populations that have gained another foothold on the East Coast and to have migrated into the interior. Author Eloy Gallegos does not accept Kennedy's assertion that Drake may have deposited Moorish or Turkish cargo in North Carolina. The Drake connection is still unproven, and so are others in Kennedy's of possibilities. Dominicans, Jesuits, and Acadians who fit neither the physical description nor the temporal patterns for their region. All right, we're going to get into this book. Again, we're going to do a little recap what we've gone over before. And again, this is the book, The Jews and Muslims in British Colonial America, A Genealogical History. Says in this work, we present a series of colonial documents, a contemporary first-hand accounts, records, portraits, family genealogies, and ethnic DNA test results which fundamentally challenge the national storyline, depicting America's first settlers as white, all right, as white and British or Christian. We postulate that many of the initial colonists were actually of Sephardic, Jewish, and Muslim Moorish ancestry, all right, usually arriving as crypto-Jews with their religious adherence disguised, and crypto-Muslims, Moors, right? Moors. These immigrants served in prominent, right, economic, political, financial, social positions in all of the original colonies, all right? Very important. Original founders, the founding fathers, all right? I'm talking about original founders. The evidence and support
The founding fathers, all right? I'm talking about original founders. The evidence in support of this radical new narrative. This is a radical narrative, right? Radical. More radical than being from Africa. How radical is this narrative, really? I will call it a radical narrative if it helps people sleep at night. It begins with an examination of the British colonial companies organized in England to bring settlers to North America and exploit the natural riches believed to be there. Of course, both Spain and France had already made forays into North America, founding St. Augustine and exploring parts of the coastline as far north as Newfoundland, though their activities as foreign powers are given short shrift in our Anglo-centric version of the birth of America. What is even less frequently mentioned regarding the Spanish and French settlements and voyages is that many of the colonists and sailors were Sephardic, Jewish, and Muslim Moorish descent. They forgot to mention this to us in school, guys, when we were growing up. Several of those aboard Christopher Columbus' first voyage in 1492, and famously even Columbus Colon himself, were of Jewish ancestry. He was a Portuguese Sephardi. His first voyage in 1492, and famously even Columbus Colon himself, were of Jewish ancestry. He was a Portuguese Sephardi. The Portuguese Sephardi Jews were very dark complexion, remember? They were Jews or crypto Jews. Moving on, it says we document that Spain's loss was Britain's gain. Beginning with the initial planning, organization, and promotion of the first British colonial efforts, Sephardic Jews and Muslim Moors were present as navigators, all right? Ship captains, sailors, metallurgists, cartographers, financiers, and colonists. Among these, we find Joaquim Gans, Simon Ferdinando, Walter Raleigh, John Hawkins, Humphrey Gilbert, Richard Hackley, Sr. and Jr., Francis Drake, Martin Frobisher, and Abraham Ortelius. The first and second British colonies in North America, Virginia and Massachusetts, were provision funded and peopled by persons of Sephardic, Jewish, and Muslim Moorish descent. I'll repeat once again. The first and second British colonies in North America, Virginia, Massachusetts, were provisioned, funded, and peopled by persons of Sephardic, Jewish, and Muslim Moorish descent. They lied to us completely. You guys gotta break the spell. Break the spell right now, like straight up, like boom. Straight up, they're telling you right here. They're not really telling you like that, how I'm telling you, but they're telling you. Break the spell. Current genealogical studies of the Appalachian descendants of these early colonists demonstrate that they carried DNA haplotypes, male or female lineages, and genes from Sephardic, Ottoman, and North African founders. Further, these early North American colonists often bore straightforwardly Jewish and Muslim surnames. Attested are Alif, Saracen, Moises, Bagshal, Haggara, Okosan, and even Saladin. Indeed, given the patently non-Christian backgrounds of so many settlers up and down the Atlantic coastline of the American colonies, it becomes difficult to ignore the significant declarations of religious tolerance inscribed in the U.S. Constitution. It's the reason for everything in history. It's just the narrative that changed. When they told us the story, they changed the story a little bit. Why would people fight for freedom of religion? What type of people? And from whom? Who's persecuting them and why? Since here, even in partially New York, founded by the Dutch, as New Amsterdam was heavily peopled by Sephardic Jews and Muslim Moors. A lot of them came from Holland that had been living in Brazil. They had to go back to Holland because the Catholics came back. And then from Holland, they had to go to New York. So as the presence of persons from these ethnic affiliations on the governing boards of the Dutch, West, and East India companies continues, as they included Jonathan Cohen, or Cohen, right? These are the West Indian companies and East India Company. And Cornelius Spielman, another classic Jewish name. Other New Amsterdam and later New York residents were Jacob Abrahamson and Dennis Isaacson. We present contemporaneous testimony suggesting that even the leading Knickerbocker families of New York colony, the Van Cortlands, Phillips and Van Rieselens, Delano's, and the Lanceys, were of Sephardic ancestry. This fresh look at colonial American genealogies and settler lists presents for the first time in one source the Spanish, Hebrew, Arabic, and Jewish origins and meaning of more than 5,000 surnames, the vast majority of them widely assumed before to be sturdy British family names of ancient bearing. Many of our name etymologies plainly contradict the standard reference work. In addition to Jewish genealogies, we have made an effort to bring to life some of the forgotten women who shaped the colonial American experience. These include the ancient mother of European royalty, the Occitan Jewish Queen Ita, which is Charlemagne's great 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 grandmother, Mary Lago, who was actually a Sephardic Jewish mother. She was a black person. Yes, mother of the Quakers, so-called colored person, mother of the Quakers, founder George Fox, and Malaya Cooper, the Jewish mulatto wife of Daniel Boone's guide, whose Hebrew name is the same as one of President Barack Obama's daughters. Some of their stories will surprise readers, running counter to traditional historical accounts. Few people realize that one of the Salem witches mounted a legal defense using the family's professional connections and wealth. Sarah Town, Chloe's or Clay's, fought her accusers and lived to become a founder of the town of Framingham, Massachusetts, all right? A so-called black person. The mother of Patrick Henry, according to diarist William Byrd, was a handsome woman of the family of Esau, whose first husband in Aberdeen, Scotland, was of the family of Saracens. The Cherokee beloved woman Nancy Ward bore an Arabic name. One of the sub-themes of the present study is the interaction between immigrants and American Indians. All right? Big one. Readers will find Cherokee Creek Choctaw and other genealogies that reflect intermarriage between Jews or Muslims and American native inhabitants, believed in the thinking of the day to be Abraham's children. All right? So why would they marry American Indians? And because they believed them to be Abraham's children, the lost tribes, is what I'm trying to explain to you. Including the fellow British Caribbeans, the Lord's proprietor also sought out Huguenots. Who's the Huguenots? All right, you got to say Huguenot. Huguenot. Curimeo, not Huguenot. Huguenots. All right, let's go. As settlers do to one may surmise to their Sephardic Morisco affinity and enmity towards Spain. The colonial power to the south. Pamphlets were distributed in French to Huguenot refugee communities in Ireland. Louis the 14th repealed the Edict of Nantes in 1685, which had provided religious freedom to non-Catholics in France. Thousands of Huguenots fled France. 1,500 of them made their way to South Carolina. South Carolina. Edgar reports that prominent surnames among these colonists were Banu, the Davidic good name, Forties, the Saussure, Debus, Debus, Foret, De Silva, Gaylord, Glendron, Gerard, Horry, Moroccan, Huger, Lawrence, Lagari, Manigault, Marion, Payre, Porcher, Piccolo, Ravenel, Simons, and Timothy. Again, several are identifiable as Sephardic Morisco. Sephardic Morisco. In 1764, an additional 300 Huguenot settlers arrived in hopes of developing the silk and wine industry. The same two Sephardic Moorish dominated industries attempted in the Virginia colony. All right, so if the Huguenots know how to do this, then what are they? If they're doing things that Sephardic Moorish people do. Most of the incoming settlers were drawn from La Rochelle and Bordeaux. All right, La Rochelle, major Huguenot town in France. And we know a lot of the Huguenots from there were taken to Acadia and became known as Acadians, and then later to as Cajuns in Louisiana. Check out my Acadian video, a lot of drop on that one. Early in the 1720s, Purrisburg, on the left bank of the Savannah River, had been settled by around 800 French-Swiss settlers, which we have argued elsewhere were primarily Jewish and crypto-Jewish ancestry. Crypto-Jews.
Stop stuffing sopping wet bags of ice into your cooler. I've got a brand new fridge on wheels that keeps your food.
I will do it for any kind of love you want. I'll be with you. That's how strong my love is.
Why do we grind? I'm trying to shine. How do we change? Not staying the same. Not trying to sing, I'm trying to flow. And trying to change the world everywhere we go. Why do we grind? I'm trying to shine. How do we change? Not staying the same. Not trying to sing, I'm trying to flow. And trying to change the world everywhere we go.
That's what I'm trying to do, y'all.
And that's what he's doing.
That's what we trying to do.
That's what we doing. And trying to change the world everywhere we go.
Looking at these times, I gotta rewind. Things that become lost, the person I left behind. Worked so hard just to be dust in the wind. Grabbing a pen, back at it again. Not the same since I lost my friends. Gotta sit down, grab the light and climb up. Take a step back as a lesson. Remember when you're stressing, that setback
That's a blessing. Expecting to change using the same formula. How do you change? Are you staying the same? We done warned ya about the outcome. I'm sticking to my day ones. I'm from the same spot we done came from. Not worried about the street fame.
Worldwide game.
Coming for it all. And remember the name. Stop the manipulation. Turn around just to blame. Grow some balls, take a fall. We all human, we all fall. Poetic engineers, underrated musical pioneers.
Why do we grind? I'm trying to shine. How do you change? Not staying the same. I try to sing, I'm trying to flow.
And trying to change the world everywhere we go. Let's use all this good and bad as fuel and keep rolling. If you see someone down, pick him up if he can be picked up. You heard?
It was hard times and really bad times. It was a cold night, but I remember that Saturday night. My life was ruined, my world shattered, and I was thinking, how can I go on? How can I go on? Then I remember, if you don't have anything good to say, shut up, look up. Oh, stop neglecting and start helping. Why do we grind, trying to shine? How do we change? Not staying the same. Not trying to sing, I'm trying to flow and trying to change the world everywhere we go.
That's all I'm trying to do, y'all.
And now I see that I was on mute. So y'all had some dead space. I looked over, I saw the queen of the whole damn thing had showed up. I lost my mind, I lost my tempo, I lost control of my buttons, and I had me on mute. So that dead space you're gonna hear, don't that's what it was. Okay? That's what happened. Every now and then I get carried away because I can read the chat from the back room when I'm mopping the floors and sweeping out the debris and and bringing in the boxes for the next round of entertainment. And that's what happened to me, okay? So now that I'm unmuted and I'm hacking, I think I better back up, find me just one more of my people. Find one more. Okay, just hold up. And then we're gonna get back to the show. I'm just catching my breath. I was looking for my E40 up in here, or my oh, here's my theme song. Let me play my theme song while I catch my breath. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Let me catch my breath. Let me load up this video, and after this video, I should be okay again, back on station, and we'll continue with the show. Here we go. Let me get this lined up properly here. Take this off mute.
You know what? I mean, yeah, nigga, Johnny West and his bitch, Spice Slim. You know what? I mean, it's really big. Nothing but a boss player like all my friends. I've been riding since the beginning of getting my ends. Took a stop at the green light, wipe off my rims, beat the shit out of any nigga that honk in my Benz. It's on, nigga, we roam like Sprint phones. You can tell that the East Bay is my home. The way I spit these ebonics and pop my motherfucking collar. We don't fall down, but me and the homies might squabble, love each other like brothers, so we ride for one another. Put one foot in the grave and the other one in the gutter. It's the motherfucking boss, I'm riding at all costs. And if I fall that I carry a bill, your wig off, break your back, boy. Bring you your motherfucking hat, boy. We hitting corners, leaving motherfuckers flat, boy. You get a hole in your chest without the vest. I just purchased the Desert Eagle from Johnny West. Niggas is tripping cause he gave me the gun. Saying why you get that big old pistol, the Spice One. Bang, bang, bo. See why they get the piss out to Benny Chico. Bang, bang, bang. Hit him up with them heaters, but send me do me third thing. Bang, bang, bo. See why they get them pissed out to Benny Chico. Bang, bang. Hit him up with them heaters, but send me do me third thing. Johnny West ready to pack another clip. Lock and low, why don't you take another hit? When it's sick and I'll be creeping, ready to take your cash. Thought you was a baller, now you ballin' like an asshole. Just equals to a strap, lay you on your fucking back. Pop a collar, thought you was right, got you crying like a little bitch. Angelic when it's in the back, about to dig your fucking dick. Try to rob a star life, you sippin' fella, really shit. Fuck don't let my boy Tino cheap, riggedy off your fucking lip. Bang, bo. See why they getting pissed out to Benny Chico. Bang, bang. Hit him up with them heaters, but send me do me third thing. Bang, bo. See why they getting pissed out to Benny Chico. Bang, hit him up with them heaters, but send me do me third thing. Bang, bang. So Johnny, what you give Spice One that pistol? I don't know either. You know what I'm saying? Bang, bro. See why them getting pissed out to Benny Chico. Bang, bang. Hit him up with them heaters, but send me do me third thing. Bang, bro. See why them getting pissed out to Benny Chico. Bang, hit him up with them heaters, but send me do me third thing.
Okay, y'all, I lied. I got to play one of my older godsons from the East Bay, E40, with choices, and then I swear we're gonna start the video again.
It's game day. All eyes on me. And you look.
Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep.
Ever told on a nigga?
Nope.
Ever squeeze the trigger? Yep. Ever set a nigga up? No. Ever helped a brother out when he was down on his luck? You a sap? No. You a boss player? You a Mac? Yep. Let me hold a couple dollars. No. Y'all still be popping y'all collars? Yep. Stock rims on the scrape? No. Paint wetter than a lake? Yep. Poodle in my blood? No. Bitch, I'm a thug? Yep. You a loser? No. Winner? Yep. Starving? No. Dinner? Yep. You still sell dope? No. Now you clean it in a bar Dove soap? Yep. Got a little Gouda? No. Got a thumper, got a Ruger? Yep. You in love with the hoe? No. She bringing you the dough? Yep. You gon' cry if she leave? No. You gon' fly overseas? Yep.
Everybody got choices.
I choose to get money, I'm stuck to this bread.
Everybody got choices.
These bitches is choosing, I'm all in their head.
Everybody got choices.
Keep it 1,000, I done like that I chose.
Everybody got choices.
These niggas be hating, I already know, but I never go broke.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
And I ain't gotta sell my soul.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
If you broke, you ain't like me.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
I give a fuck if you don't like me.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
Lazy? No. Got dick that'll drive a hoe crazy?
Yep.
Hater?
No.
Wanna see a player get paper?
Yep.
Traitor?
No.
Loyal to my soil, not a faker?
Yep.
Sleep?
No.
Bust moves, hella active in the streets?
Yep.
Scared of the dark?
No.
Have money, have heart?
Yep.
Nork?
No.
Shark?
Yep.
Gossip like a brawl?
No.
Check a bitch like a smog?
Yep.
Slipping?
No.
Tripping?
Yep.
Sober as a gopher?
No.
Hide in a roller coaster?
Yep.
Star Wars?
No.
Yoda?
Yep.
Never leave the house without my strap.
No.
Shoot a motherfucker in his nap.
Yep.
Never been a sucker or a pussy.
No.
Blowing cookie, never coughing like a rookie.
Yep. Everybody got choices.
I choose to get money, I'm stuck to this bread.
Everybody got choices.
These bitches is choosing, I'm all in their head.
Everybody got choices.
Keep it 1,000, I done like that I chose.
Everybody got choices.
These niggas be hating, I already know, but I never go broke.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
And I ain't gotta sell my soul.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
If you broke, you ain't like me.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
I give a fuck if you don't like me.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
Was it love at first sight?
No.
Did she ride you like a bike?
Yeah.
Was it ripe?
No.
Was her pussy tight?
Yeah.
Got some property?
No.
Drive a Maserati?
Yeah.
You softer than a sock?
No.
You solid as a rock?
Yeah.
Slow?
No.
Trained to go?
Yeah.
Your team weak?
No.
You respected in the street knee?
Yeah.
Shallow?
No.
Didn't need?
Yeah.
Broke?
No.
Chin need?
Yeah.
Not a BB or a pellet gun?
No.
But a long barrel bass drum?
Yeah.
If I get into it, won't run?
No.
I'ma give a nigga a fair run.
Yeah.
Still live in the trap?
No.
You ever go back?
Yeah.
Wear a wire and a camera?
No.
Ears to the scanner?
Yeah. Everybody got choices.
I choose to get money, I'm stuck to this bread.
Everybody got choices.
These bitches is choosing, I'm all in their head.
Everybody got choices.
Keep it 1,000, I done like that I chose.
Everybody got choices.
These niggas be hating, I already know, but I never go broke.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
And I ain't gotta sell my soul.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
If you broke, you ain't like me.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
I give a fuck if you don't like me.
No, I'ma stay getting money. Yeah.
Okay, so there we have it. I'm ready to launch our return. Now, everybody got their pen and their pencil ready, because I just realized what I'm doing with you guys is I'm taking you on a voyage. Okay, this is more like a real life presentation of the truth type voyage, as best as I can present, to overshadow the lies that we've all been told. Now, one of these days, we're going to have that special show where we're going to talk about who it really was that told this lie that we've been living. Because somebody told it. Okay? If a bunch of black people have been in charge of running this place since the beginning, how did it stop being run by them? Or did they elevate beyond recognition to the level of total crypto, experience? They just ain't there, but they're there. You just don't see them, right? Is that where we are now? Because we're gonna see this, and you're gonna see that that's what it leads up to. Okay, that's what leads up to. So let's go back over here and see what dude was talking.
Leon, all right? So again, so he brought up Moorish prisoners of war as slaves and American Indians as slaves. All these people revolted against him, or as they say here, went AWOL. And likely these Moors settled somewhere within the interior of Georgia and intermarried with the locals. Okay? The next part we have here is Hernando de Soto expedition. A lot of you have heard about this. At first, morale was high in this expedition, but as more and more soldiers began to be sniped off in guerrilla attacks, and no wealthy city like the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan was encountered, desertions occurred. Most of the deserters were Moorish or sub-Saharan servants. Again, who was deserting? Now remember, Hernando de Soto came up with 600 soldiers. A lot of those deserters were again Moorish or sub-Saharan servants. The first desertion gave an extensive discussion by the authors of De Soto Chronicles occurred in the vicinity of Saluda, North Carolina, which was then called Suale or Guale or Shuale. They've changed this with an X and they also write this with a G, Guale or Shuale. The location was on the Blue Ridge Escarpment. A high-ranking female leader from the town of Cofitachiki in southeastern South Carolina was being held hostage. She pretended to need to answer the call of nature, then escaped with one of the African servants dodged a hijack. What Africans? All right. Portuguese Sephardic Jews. While leaving Cosa in northwest Georgia, De Soto lost at least 2 or 3 more men. Robles broke his leg when he fell off his horse and could not march. Another was Hidalgo, noble, name of Massano of Salamanca, who disappeared several days before the army departed. The other was a Moorish servant named Feriado, who intentionally slipped away from the Spaniards as they marched to the west. It is quite likely that De Soto lost several other common soldiers in the highlands because the Spaniards were enthralled with the terrain. Now you gotta understand why they're separating the Moors and they're trying to make them Africans only with the Spaniards because they're talking about Catholic. When they say Spaniards here, De Soto, yeah, he represented the Catholic crown. And he was, even though he's a Sephardic Jew, he's a crypto. Other desertions in the region are not mentioned by the chroniclers until further along on the route. All right, so even in the De Soto expedition, a lot of Sephardic Jews and Moors and a lot of black Europeans were being left behind. All right, this is all before Jamestown and Roanoke, okay? All this is happening. These people are staying behind for years, all right? Before Roanoke and Jamestown, mixing with the local people. All right, next video I want to get into right here, because we're talking about Hernan de Soto, is a little bit of this video from 2 years ago, who did the Spanish and Portuguese really enslave, all right? I'm going to talk about what Hernan de Soto, in the same expedition where Moors were being left behind, his soldiers and all these other people he had working for him stayed behind. We're going to see also what these people were doing and what he was forcing these people to do. And some of them didn't want to do this, I guess, right? If you haven't watched it, make sure to check it out. It's called Who Did the Spanish and Portuguese Really Enslave? Facts versus Fiction, Alex Haley Roots Hoax, all right? We're going to belly flop to about 30 minutes in. All right, we're going to be reading right away from this book, Indian Slavery in Colonial Times Within the Present Limits of the United States. Very scholarly book from the Columbia University. Studies in History and Economics and Public Law.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I got so overwhelmed with what's going on right here, right now. Let me explain this to you. This is going to totally overwhelm anything you ever thought you had seen in your whole entire lifetime. Read this right here. Bring this up, full screen this information right here. It says studies in history, not in bullshit, not in lies, and not out somebody's mouth. Here it is written. It says economics and public what? Law. Do you realize that the Native Americans invented the concept of law? No, they haven't said that part yet. But wait till the Moriscos and the cryptos get with the locos and they start doing things together. But right here, this, if you haven't followed me yet, this is the me that y'all never see. This is the guy that I am. I show people what is real and what is not. I'm a show giver. So that says studies in history, economics, and public law. I minored in in college, in junior college. I minored in economics. You got microeconomics and you got macroeconomics. You got world economics and you got country economics. And you flutter yourself against that within the laws of the common man concept. Okay. Now it says this is edited. That means somebody else checked out what you said here, that you before anybody gets to see it, like Facebook. This is what they do. What I say or what I do, it's 10 seconds until you see it. So I'm 10 seconds ahead of you in my show. So whatever you say in a chat, it has to be in coordination with what I'm talking about, because you see, I will stop, roll all the way back over to the part where you got left and bring you back up to speed is the objective here with a person like me. Okay? This tells you edited by the faculty, not one person, of political science. If you have any concept of political science, what that means is hunting and gathering and selling and buying. See, our whole political system is based on how we produce existence scientifically with socialism. And Columbia University is the backer. That means you could go there if you don't believe in what you see in the video that we about to see right here, right now. You could go there and they could prove to you that this is official. They produced this. Okay, that's where we're at with this. Keep your pen and your paper out.
Almond Wheeler Lauber, PhD. We're going to get into it right now. What are they saying about Hernandez Soto? In 1539, Soto himself landed in the Bay of Espiritu Santo in Florida for the purpose of conquest. He had served under Pizarro in Peru, and his methods were those learned from his master.
You see this? 1539, and there ain't been no ships come from Africa landing no Africans over here in America as slaves. You see with this word right here at this period, it says conquest. That means kill off all the men, enslave all the children, and impregnate or rape all the women. And in one generation, they'll be, thinking that they all was born and raised on pizza in Peru some damn where, okay? If they let this guy have his way with what he thinks he's going to do with us.
So remember, Hernando or Fernando de Soto, right? He was under Pizarro when they conquered the Inca. And Pizarro was ruthless, cruel. So de Soto learned from his master, it says here. To ensure success, all opposition must be overcome. So with the expedition were taken bloodhounds, chains, and iron collars for the catching of holding of Indian slaves. Again, chains and iron collars.
Look at that. Indian slaves. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't take a snapshot of those words and that picture, you know how we've been lied to. They talk one way, but then they show you pictures of some makeup of what the story is trying to lead you through. But right here, this is what reality was. Native Americans looking like that right there had metal chains and bars put around their neck and stolen because they wasn't uh, uh, fighting tribes. They were hunting gatherers. You know, they were farmers. You know, they were familiar with growing crops and shit. You know, but there was a lot of them because they had lived very successfully since the origin of time here. But this is what it evolved to. So forget what you heard about some Pan-Atlantic slave trade. As you can see, it never happened. There's enough people right here on this green earth called America for all these foreign powers that were used to warring with each other to come and try. Well, they where they could, they wiped out civilizations. You know, that's why they say, you know, um, what do they call us? African Americans, Negroes. What do they call us in the census? That we only add up to 1%. You know, we're becoming fewer and fewer as time goes on, and that the people that brought us here are just, you know, continue to explode in their numbers. When all of that, right here, we're in 1539. There was no such uh, uh, entity as a non-melanated human. Everybody was melanated, okay? Everybody was swarty in 1539. We see that right here, right? So let's see what we got.
Iron collars for who? For Indian slaves, not Africans. The Spanish were not enslaving Africans. They were enslaving American Indians. I can't emphasize this enough. You know, perspective, orientation, the true slave trade. In reverse, the expedition was military in nature. Hence, it was natural that force and conquest should precede conciliation. There is no doubt that one of the purposes of Soto was to capture Indian slaves.
All right, just real quick.
See, right there. If you get captured in an act of war against your nation, you basically die right there. You don't exist anymore. The only reason why you're alive is they didn't kill you. So what do you think you should do? That one generation later, here you are. You're that Indian that's about to become that slave for Soto and his idiots overrunning your existence. And remember, these are people of color that are doing this to people of color. Everything I'm saying is the true facts of people in color from as far back or as far out or as far reaching as we can go to get the truth and bring it to everyone. Then that's why I do this. Okay, so let's see what's up.
All right, so this was a military campaign De Soto was on because Leon and all these other expeditions were failing and it was hard. And they saying, all right, send De Soto. He was there with Pizarro and they conquered the Incas. He should be able to conquer these people up here in North America. So they sent a military campaign. This wasn't an exploration or expedition. They called it expeditions. Most of the time, these were slave raids, military campaigns, as I just told you. All right? De Soto, who came with many more, De Soto himself being Sephardic, Jewish, Moorish as well. Crypto, convert, converso, new Christian.
He had chosen as his lieutenant a rich resident of the town of Trinidad in Cuba, Vasco Porcayo de Figueroa, who had come to Florida with the object of obtaining Indian slaves for his estates. All right, so remember, De Soto came in with 600 soldiers. All right, 600 soldiers. This included Moranos, Moriscos, black conquistadors too, not just Spanish white looking Europeans. Soto himself was a slave owner. Among his possessions in Cuba were Indian slaves, whom he employed as herdsmen and in getting gold. In some cases, the Indian chiefs through whose territories Soto and his men were passing, everywhere they were passing, De Soto and his 600 men through their expedition in North America, all the way to the Mississippi from Florida.
At other times, both men and women were taken by force. Narrators relayed the capture and distribution of such women in groups of 100 to 300 American Indian women enslaved. Among the captives were a queen and a cacique.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think we've had enough for tonight. We got over 2.5 hours of presentation in our bag here. I want to thank everyone that came in and shared with me tonight. I mean, we had a great time, I'm sure. I'm sure because I know I did. I had me a great of a time being here, leading this charge with everybody tonight. And I want to thank y'all for coming and let y'all know good night.